have videos for this way long back when I just started this channel. Okay, so this is something which is not required for everyone, but if you are going for an interview, especially the interview is like sometime in service companies, or anyways, if you're giving a JavaScript interview nowadays, this see what happens in a startup interview. They will give you some problem statement and you have to do that thing. Problem statement like I'm problem statement, either take home statement like create a small app or something like that. Not even problem statement, create a small app or create a small app in one app. And we're going to soon have those interview questions also, what are there. But if someone is taking a theoretical interview, which can happen in a startup also, but generally don't happen, but in service company, small, big, medium, these theoretical things can happen, and there they can ask you these things. Because I have a lot of time this kind of interviews happened. Sometimes whiteboard interviews also happened, and they ask this kind of. Also, it's good to have the knowledge of this thing, although you're never going to use this thing. So that's why I never taught this thing, because I always these are things which are required to get a job in a startup. Okay, so that is there. These are not some startup thing, but yeah, everybody don't want to work in a startup. Everybody can, means you get opportunities from service-based companies. Service-based companies are not only like TCS, Infosys. There are other service-based companies also, and sometimes I even seen, I got this whiteboard interviews when I was a contractor, means in a service-based company, and I've gone for a contractor interview, means in another company I have gone, and there I got a whiteboard interview. So these interviews were quite common also in nowadays. Now also I think it is common. Sometimes they ask these things. So let's get started. Okay, so it's a bit advanced. Some of this concept, as I told, we don't use also. Okay, so let's get started. And let me share my screen again. As always, we're going to do it in JSBin. Okay, so one sec. Let me, I forgot to open. And again, participation certification will be given if you attend all 5 days. Maybe what will happen. Okay, so one sec. The we might complete the syllabus. If we complete the syllabus soon, I am going to have some advanced JavaScript project based on classes. Okay, based on classes, and I have one project like that based on classes, and that means vanilla JavaScript project. I'm going to have that vanilla JavaScript project. Maybe if we get some time, and if you are not able to complete, then we'll continue with this thing, because there are a lot of things to complete. And hello, good evening. And the thing is that all of these things, these advanced things, are taken from a book. Okay, and if you have time, which generally most of us don't have, suppose you are working in some company and you have time, always brush up your JavaScript skills, because it will always help you. Because if you know how things works, then it's always better. So all of these things, the father of all this advanced kind of JavaScript is a book known as You Don't Know JS. You don't know JS. It's a pack of six book, actually six book, and it's a very popular person known as Kyle Simpson. Yeah, Kyle Simpson is there, and these books doesn't change. Means it's a set of six books, and if you can see, it has got all these things: this async JS, ES6, scope and closure, up and going. This is one of the most popular book of JavaScript. Okay, one of the most popular book of JavaScript, but this is only for people who want to master JavaScript. And this book, trust me, it will take you at least 1 to 2 years to complete. It is not that easy. In fact, this keyword is there is one book for this keyword. See, where is it? See, this an object prototype. Just one book, a thick book for this an object prototype. So that is there. If you have time and if you want to be master or a ninja in JavaScript, please do this book. Even I have not gone through this book. I have gone through some of the means other YouTube channel and all those things. I've gone through and learned these things, which is a like a summary of this book. And even what we are going to learn today is a summary of this book. Okay, but then also we're going to go pretty much deep. Okay, so that is there, and it's a 1 hour session. All of our weekday sessions are 1 hour each, so it's a 5 day session. 1 3 4 5 Monday to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So yeah, so let's get started. So the first thing in JavaScript is that uh, what we're going to cover, we're going to cover scopes and closures. Yeah, closures is a very important interview questions again, but we're going to cover towards the later part. So scopes and closures. So scopes is a very important thing in JavaScript, because when JavaScript was created by its creator, it was the var was created as having a functional scope. So I teach this in my normal JavaScript beginners to advanced class also. So that is there, and here also we will start with that. Okay, so let's get started. And there are means we're going to learn a bit like from the earlier days what it was. This kind of JavaScript is like some old kind of JavaScript also. It is not like old, but it is still, you can still use it. So there are mainly two ways to declare function in JavaScript. One is like we know that function keyword is there. Maybe I will have a foo and console.log function foo is called. And by the way, I'm using JSBin, as you all know, because most of you might have attended my JavaScript beginners to advanced. This is the advanced to master, so you should know beginners to advanced JavaScript. If you don't know, it was done recently. You can go through the recordings. Means it is there on the channel. Previous week only it was done. Okay, so that is there, and this we know, and this is one way to declare it, and we can call it like foo, like this. And JavaScript is different. See, this here only you are seeing it is different, because in other programming language like Java and all, you have like return type. Here there is no return type, so you'll have a void here in Java, C plus on all this, but we don't have this there. Okay, so I will do it, and function foo is called is there. And in JavaScript, functions are also called first class citizens in JavaScript. Okay, and there is another way to declare them, which is like var. So in a variable, I am putting a function. In a variable, I am putting a function like this, and this is another way. So console.log function bar is called. Function bar is called, and again I'm calling a bar like this, and run it. Function bar is called. So here we are making it equal to a variable, okay. So this is something which is there only in JavaScript. We can make a function equal to a variable. Okay, so this is there. And I think first one is called function expression, second one is called function declaration. Okay, so that is there. So now we'll learn the concept of scope. Okay, so in JavaScript, what happens when you declare a function this scope? Maybe it is what happens. It is, we're going to see it through a diagram. So some of the diagrams also I have. So suppose like this, we are declaring a function var a equal to 20. Okay, and there is a box. Suppose there is a box, so it will contain inside a box. And what are these boxes? We're going to see soon. This if the if statements and all, they're not the boxes. In JavaScript, it's a bit different. Will means generally scopes are created with curly bracket, but in JavaScript it's a bit different. Scope is there in almost every other programming language. Suppose I have written a var b equal to 30. So this b equal to 30 will not go outside this box, but this, and b equal to 6, it is another box, so it will not go outside it. Okay, so that is how this is there. Okay, this b equal to 30 will not be accessible here, but this will be accessible here. So this is something like this. Okay, so now let us define the scope in JavaScript. And scope in JavaScript, I've told earlier also, and now also, that JavaScript is a bit different than language like C++ and all. JavaScript is functional scope. It is not like a block scope, which these other languages are. So okay, I think I'm too big. So like I have a bar. So what is block scope means? If so, suppose I have bar in Hindu, and if of triple equal to bar equal to. So what happens in JavaScript, in most other programming language, if this name is, you can access anywhere, but this var job which I have written, it is not accessible anywhere. Suppose in C++ I write this thing, this curly bracket, this creates the scope. If name equal to name, this curly bracket will create the scope, and that will not be accessible outside. But here everything is accessible outside, and console dot log of name, which is accessible outside, and which is of course is will be accessible outside, and console dot log of job. Might think that job is not accessible outside, but both of them are accessible outside, which is the wrong thing in JavaScript. Okay, so this is why JavaScript is known as means var is known as having a functional scope. And to solve this issue, let us introduce. And as I told, we are not going to learn much about those things. Those things I teach in my JavaScript beginners to advanced also. So we are going to learn something different here. Okay, so if please go through that beginners to advanced also. Okay, so this is the problem with var. This is what it is, a not a block scope, but it's a functional scope. So what is a functional scope? We have to add some function around it. So like this, I will have a function allocate job, like this I'll have, and I'll put it inside here. Okay, so now console.log name and console.log of job is there. Okay, let us again run it. Clear, run it. See, second one is giving me error, because what happened with var is function scope. Means if I declare a var inside a function, it doesn't matter this if or else, if cannot stop a var from going outside. So now this job scope is from here till here. This is a bit of weird kind of functionality in JavaScript, because in almost every programming language the scope is decided by if statements also. If statement, switch statement, while statement, do while loop, all those things, for loop, all of them decide. But in JavaScript only, this var scope, if actually there is only one way to declare variables in JavaScript, is var. There are two other ways also which are released in 2015 with ES6. We're not going to learn that. So let and const are also there. Okay, so we and if you want to learn, again go to my JavaScript beginners to advanced. So that is there. So suppose there are only var is there. Okay, var is there, and this var is having this functional scope, not a block scope like other programming language. So like this is there. So one more thing, now we are going to see how a function don't pollute the global namespace. Okay, so what we are basically going to learn is a very important concept known as IIFE. And again, see, some of the things here are very important interview questions. Okay, and this is one of that thing. The IIFE is a very important interview question. It is always asked. If you also just with closures is something which is always going to ask, and if is also there. Immediately invoked function expression, it is known as immediately invoked function expression, the full form of it, if he. Okay, let me write it also here, and I'm going to give this JSBin. So that is known as like this, immediately invoked function expression. Quite a handful of a name. Okay, so that is there. So let us get started now. And yeah, good evening everyone. One sec. Good evening. That is there, and as always it will be a certification code. Get participant certificate if you attend all 5 days. And those are watching from LinkedIn, they can come to YouTube, because generally in that my chat doesn't go to LinkedIn. I don't know why my software is there like that. Okay, so that is there. So let us understand and let us learn how to write this IIFE and all. So let me also comment this out, or else it is anyways giving me error. So suppose I will have a function and my func. Let us first write it normally, my func, and it is like var a equal to 10, var b equal to 20, and console dot log and a plus b, console dot log a plus b, and I call this my function. and it will give me 30. So that is there. And IIFEs are created to not pollute the global namespace. Okay, so in this example there is a local variable. Okay, these variables are created like a and b, but they are contained with this within this function, so they are not global. But what is global here? Actually is my function is global. It is sort of in the global space, so it is like polluting means the global namespace. So it is globally, the function is globally. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes we don't want this behavior, and in this case the IIFE comes to the rescue, and this we are going to refactor it. So what will happen here? I'm not going to call on like my function and all. My function and all I'm not going to call. So I will delete it. I'll call this function itself. And how I will call this function itself? It is like I will wrap it with a function, and then I will call it at the moment. It is like that. My function, I was calling it there. So as I told, this now these concepts are a bit complicated because we are in this mastery phase. Okay, JavaScript advanced to master. So you have to understand, like, instead of calling that function, I have wrapped this itself like this, and then I'm calling it at that moment. So this is what JavaScript can do. JavaScript, as I always say, is easy to learn but difficult to master. This is the mastery level thing which we are going to learn now. So see, I'm calling it here only. A totally weird kind of a structure is there, but as I have told, this is a very important interview question. Immediately invoke function expressions. So if you're going for the interview, please learn about that. Immediately invoke function expression, they are used that so that it is totally means it is not global, to everything is local. Even I don't have a function name. Okay, one more thing. Actually, I think I have given it wrong. So why I'm taking this also, because there is no function name. I can directly call it like this. Okay, no function name is also required actually. So this is like this. This is the IIFE, immediately invoke function expressions. Okay, so that is there. And those who are afraid of JavaScript, they need to be more afraid now, because this is like JavaScript from the hell. Okay, so this is how internally JavaScript work, and a lot of things are there which is there. So now I think is that we are going to learn about the read and write operations. So in this series, means mastery series, we are going to learn the working of JavaScript a lot. And as I told, a lot of them are interview questions. Like scope is a very important interview question. If he is a damn sure, it's an interview question. Like they will ask they will ask like this. Your what are closures also soon going to cover. They'll ask question about the this keyword. They'll ask keyword questions about the prototypal inheritances. Okay, those things will be there. Okay, so and we're going to learn about that also. So now what we're going to learn about, we are going to learn about read operation and write operations. Okay, read operations and write operations. This is the thing which we are going to learn. So now consider I have run like var a equal to 10 and y equal to 10. So what is this? Now this is known as a write operation. This is known as a write operation because we write 10 to variable a. Okay, now consider this thing, console.log of a, and if I run this is like 10 is coming. What is this? This is known as a read operation because we are reading the value of a. Okay, now let us do one more thing, like this, and var b and b equal to a. Right, okay, so this is another example. So what is this b equal to a? What is this b equal to a line? Okay, it's a read operation or a write operation. Okay, so a, it's a for b it's a read operation. For b it's a read operation because it is getting this value. Okay, and for b it's a write operation because it is writing this value. It is because it's a write operation. Okay, let me also write it. Okay, so what is the write operation here? Okay, this is a, so it's not confusing. So write operation, this is a read operation. We're soon going to learn something more here. Okay, operation, and this is like for b it's a write operation because the value of a is getting written here, and for a it's a read operation. Okay, because reading the value here. Okay, so that is there. So let us now, this is done. Let us now consider another example. Okay, so this is like done. So the another example is like var a equal to 10 and var b, and we have a function greet and name console.log of name. And so we are learning about this read and read operation and write operation, which is a very important concept in JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript internals, how JavaScript internals work. So a lot of things which we are going to learn here is now how JavaScript internal works. That's why I have never taught this topic before on this channel, because this is not something which we use daily. And we don't know also these things. But this is the internal working. Okay, so those who are interested in learning the internal working, it's a very good thing for them. Okay, how the JavaScript compiler works. This is something which we are learning, how the JavaScript compiler works actually. So this is another example to make the concept again clear. So like this, these two things are okay. This is a write operation, and this is like a nothing. Like this is not nothing though. But this line number four is a write operation, because when grid nabendu is coming here, because when calling the grid nabendu from this line, and in this function what happens actually, this name will this will be passed here like this. This will be there. This will happen like this. When I'm calling this will happen like this. Okay, so for that, it is a means name, I'm making it equal to something. So this is a write operation here. And at this is console.log, it is like a read operation, because we're reading the name, so it is like this. So this is a write operation, and this is a read operation. So that is like this. It is okay. So let me write one thing. Case, and it was actually case 2. It is okay. Mm. This one is there, and this is case 2. Okay, so that is there. So now we will look into one more important concept of read and write operation. Okay, so if we declare a variable without means using it without declaring it. Okay, so let me do one thing. Console.log of view. So is it possible? Is this possible? Means okay. No, it is giving me error. It is giving me error because we cannot anyway. Foo doesn't exist, but it is that like that we can do a read operation without declaring it. Okay, but there is one more thing. Suppose if I have a foo equal to 10, we have not even used something. Okay, so we are reading the value. So we have not even declared the foo. Okay, so this is like it's 2. We're not even declared foo, but we are using it. Okay, and now it is printing it. Why it is printing it? So and why that doesn't the compiler throws any error? I have not given any bar or something. So this happens in JavaScript, because in JavaScript, if you don't give anything, there is something known as a window object, in which everything is a global properties are there. So this global thing will be it will be like a global thing will be created. So JavaScript is like a very loosely typed language. So this global thing will be created in this case. Okay, like one more thing, like what is this window object? Suppose I have comment this on, or var a is there, and suppose the var a is there, and I'll do a console.log window. So let us see the window object. See, this window object is so huge. You get everything in this window object. It is actually so huge that it is much more easier to see there. So this window object is a very important thing. Everything belongs to the window object. See, this window object, big window object is there. So everything will belong to this window object. Even you're seeing the a equal to 10, and there are a lot of other functions here. So this generally we call this window as means everything as console.log a, but actually internally it works like window a. So like this, that's the reason it was created as global here. So I'll do this. It will also give me 10. So this is of the window object. Okay. So now the next thing which we are going to learn is that compile there is a compilation step and there is interpretation step in so in JavaScript. What happens, see, it runs like in the browser. The moment we run it, it will run. It is not like Java and all traditional language like Java and C++. If anyone have used in those languages, in the code editor, so the Eclipse code editor and all, we cannot just directly get it. So we make a jar file there, and then that jar file is compiled and then that is run. So JavaScript is neither. You directly execute your source code. So because of web page directly execute JavaScript. So a lot of people think that JavaScript is an interpreted language, but there is a compilation step just before the interpretation step in JavaScript. And this is again an interview question: is JavaScript an interpreted language? No, it is not an interpreted language. It's an interpreted and a compiled language both. Okay, both interpreted and compiled language. So now we'll understand, as I told this series, a lot of internal working of JavaScript will also be told. So let us do that. So what happens there during the compilation step? Okay, during the compilation step, the compiler mainly registers the variable declarations. Okay, so if we have, suppose, let us understand with it with a example only. Means even if I do console.log, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. Suppose I have a variable a is 10 and a variable b is 20, and then there is a console like this. So what is the compilation step? As I told, during the compilation step, the compiler mainly registers the variable declaration. So in the compilation step, it mainly looks into the var keyword. Whatever the var keyword is there, it is not border what is assigned in this variable. So as I told, JavaScript have two steps. One is the compilation step, one is the interpretation. So two steps runs very fast. So in the compilation steps, it will look in this into var keyword and see, okay, it is in the global thing. So it will make it in the global. It will make it in the global. See, it is global, and it will create it in the. It will take it in the global. So that is like that. Now the next example is like, maybe we will see this in VS Code also. It is not an issue. So here, what is there? So in this example, here the compiler, in the compilation step, how the compilation step will occur. So here compiler actually finds four declarations. Four declarations it find. This a it will check. This a it will check, and this is a global. My function is also a declaration, so that it will also put in the global. Then my function's scope, as functions creates a scope, p and c will be put. So this is what the thing of a compilation step is there. So now we'll do one more example, then we'll move forward. And then, so we have to see the interpretation step also. Okay, so like this is there, where my name is Nabindu and this is there. So here this my name and greet are in this your global scope. As in the previous example, my name and greet are in the global scope, and this name is in the greet scope because it is inside that greet. Okay, so now we'll learn about the interpretation step. So this step is followed by the compilation step, and this is where the actual executions take place. So first the compiler goes through the code once, and then the interpreter goes through the code. Okay, so as it is written, so So the let us see again one example, like with this time I am going to do it. Here we'll have a var a equal to 10 and function my fn e equal to a and console.log of b and console.log of c and my fn value. And here let me run it and see, it gave me an error that c is it gave me an error that actually because this c is not there, it gave me an error because anyways so but how does it give this error, how does it give this error? Let us understand that. So here see, once the compilation step is completed, then the interpretation step starts. So what happened, it starts at this line, means it starts here and it sees that the it sees a variable. Okay, it sees a variable like my func. Okay, my func, it will say see, and it will see that whether it is available in the global scope, and the compiler have this thing in the my func, as you have seen it is there in the global scope, and it will assign this. Okay, one second. Okay. Okay, one second. Okay. So here what happens in this see, all the different variables are actually assigned like in this your compilation step. So compilation step, all these things are done in a sort of a thing, in a sort of box or whatever you can say. And then when the interpreter comes, it checks from the for the compiler that whether that is there or not. It will first it will come here and it will see that okay, the line a is there or not, and in which scope it is there. So it is there in the global scope, so it will put that a, means it will put the value of 10, then it will come here and then we'll see that okay, my func is there. Actually all the executions take place, so this my func will run this my func, but it will see whether this my func is there. So my func is in the global scope, again it will be done. Then it will come here and we see okay, whether b is there, b is in which scope, b is in my func fn scope, just we've seen here. So my fn scope, and it will now do it. It will assign a it will find from the global scope and it will assign it. But b is now, it is printing b, but there is no c, so c it is not able to find anywhere, so it will give an error. So now we will actually change this a bit. Okay, change this a bit and we will see whether we'll get an error or not. So this will do, and then I'll do a c equal to 100. And it will not give any error. See, but we had just declared c like this. Okay, let me show like this again. So here what happens, say the compilers have successfully run and it has put everything like this. A is in the global scope and my func is there. But why did it put c in the global scope? See, if you don't declare anything as var, anything in var, it's again a very big problem in JavaScript. If you don't var, at least it is contained within the function. But if you don't even give var, that is also quite possible in JavaScript. You don't even give var, it will make it totally global. It will make it global like this, a global, like the a is totally global outside anything, so it will applicable. It we can get it from anywhere outside. So c also we can get from anywhere outside, and that's why the c didn't give us an error. Okay, so now the it so it doesn't throws us any error and all these things if we do this. Okay, so it will run because C is there, C is in the global scope is done, and then this B is there, B is in my function scope is there. So this is how it all run in the interpreter and this thing. Okay, so because with this concepts only we are going to learn the concept of your closures actually. So closures is a very important concept to learn, and that we are going to learn with this concept only. Yeah, let me write one more thing. JSBin a equal to 10, and closures is something like a outer function will be there. Inside that outer function we'll have some other function. Okay, and this is still we are not going to go to closures, still we have to do a lot of things before even reaching to closure. Okay, so outer is there, and suppose var b equal to a is there, and console.log of b is there, and then uh, function of inner is there, and then var b equal to 20, and var c equal to b, and console.log of c, and I'm calling this inner here and outer here. Okay, so outer here, and here if you run, so what will come? So b is getting the value of 10 and c is getting the value of 20. Okay, so but why not means b equal to a I have done. Okay, b equal to a I have done, so 10 is there, but why I get something like this? Okay, so let us understand that. So for that, what we need to do here first we'll understand this in this way. So let us do why the compiler runs. Let us see the example. So here what will happen when the compiler run, there is global scope will be created, and in this global scope we'll have this a wait a sec, someone is at the door. Wait a sec, someone is at the door. Sorry for that. Someone was at the door. What can I do? Okay, so that is there, and so where were we? So maybe we will cover this all in the. Okay, so let me do one thing. So please mark your attendance here. We are going to continue this tomorrow. So this is a lot of things to be covered. So this we are going to complete tomorrow, and scope and all we are going to complete tomorrow. And I will end this here, and we'll complete this tomorrow.